West Side. To live in Don LA, where everybody try to fatten their pocket. So many hustle for the cash, so it's hard to knock it. Everybody got their own thing, currency chasing. Worldwide through the hard times, worrying faces. Shed tears as
Well, hello. God bless you, community family, and welcome to Gang Talk with Sister Herron, our co-host tonight, Marcus Woods. And, we're so happy to share this time with you, and we're so happy that Marcus is available to sit in for Skipp when he gets called away to do all this busy stuff they have him doing, even when it's last minute. He stays busy because he's involved and he's committed and dedicated to this work. So you're likely to see Skipp on a whole lot of corners in Los Angeles. So, Marcus, thank you so much for your participation and your enthusiasm, and I want to thank you for last week.
Thank you. I'm always blessed when I come here. I learn. So
yes,
anytime I come here and be blessed. Well,
yeah, we talked about that last week.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. Every time I come here, I'm blessed to be able to learn from whoever's sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
So. I enjoy myself all the time.
Yes. And then our practice is to thank our guests from last week, and you were the co-host last week, and it was a pretty tough hour, but we thank these young men for coming, and that's two of Skipp's older sons, that's Dante and Jonathan Townsend, and then we had Deshaun and Berg. So these young men were from 31 down to 24, so it was a very specific age group that we were talking to, and to hear their backstories was a little difficult.
Yeah, it was enlightening to hear that somebody went through some of the things that I went through growing up. So I kind of had fun, me myself, like I told you earlier, because everybody don't get a chance to sit and talk to those who younger than them going through stuff. You know, so I think being able to dialogue with them kind of enlighten them also and open them up to even speak about it.
Yes. We were talking about that before the show. Some of the backstories are so heartbreaking when you see what our young people went through just to get to the age they are. It wasn't the easiest thing that could have happened for them, and it was very difficult to have that conversation because our number one theme across our community is the absence of my dad. And I'm so sorry to say it that way, but our men have been challenged across the board in so many different things that it's always heartbreaking, but it's a reality. Yeah. My dad wasn't there. He wasn't there to guide me. And in the case of Deshaun, his stepfather was the nightmare that he didn't deserve. But, he was very forthcoming in telling his story, that his mother had issues too, that his paternal father was off doing something else and was in lockup, and he was absent, and the fact that you pointed out to him, Marcus, that he might not have even realized that he actually followed in his father's footsteps.
Yeah, he did everything his dad did. Everything he said he hated about him, he turned out to explain that he did it himself.
He did it himself, so it was a tough conversation, but we're so grateful that they had the courage to come and talk to us about it and be as open as they were. And I just want to thank Skipp for sending his two older sons to come talk to us last week, because the wonderful thing about them, one's rubbing up against it, it's that close, and the other one, I'm not involved at all.
Right.
And what do? I like the ladies, so.
Yeah, you say he's still a player.
Yeah, well, his dad, he got that from his dad too, because his dad liked the ladies as well. So, well, Skipp is proud that he has 12 children.
Right.
Okay, and I'm proud of the fact that he tries to be a father to those 12 kids.
Yes.
Okay, and so that was a joy to have his 2 older boys come and join us last week and try to make sense out of stuff that doesn't make sense. So let's just get on into our show tonight. You know this young man, this young lady, they've been here before, but we're going to start out with introductions. So let's start with ladies first.
Hi, I'm Angelique from the Leimert Park area. Blessed to be here.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Umar from the Watts area, and I'm also a friend of Angelique and Brother Terry. And glad to be here also.
Glad you are here.
Oh, hi, and I'm Terrence. Also, still from the Leimert Park area. Like to thank God for being here, and thank you always for inviting me to be here and appear on the show. It's always an honor and a pleasure. Yeah.
You know, this is God's doing because He knows we need to communicate with each other
Yes.
about our nightmares and our challenges, and that's the one thing that gang violence took from us as a village people. It took our ability to talk to each other with decency and consideration and respect and love. You see, so we're back trying to rebuild those connections that really built us up as a people. You see, and our young don't know that because they didn't get the opportunity to be raised that way. See, so we come with forgiveness and redemption for those looking to find that place in the right minds and in the right circumstances. So we're honored and proud that you come and join us and you bring such wonderful folks to come talk to us. So let me let you go ahead and take the lead. Before I do, was there something you wanted to add in, co-host?
No, ma'am. I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Well, go ahead and start.
Well, okay. This is my big brother. Also, he's just spiritual advisor to me, and he's laughing, but I'm for real. You know,
It's all right.
Yes.
always enlighten me with good information, and from what he learns and studies that he's done in his course of life, and he understands. I believe he didn't come from the gang culture, but had experience and surrounded by him, and came from a other place in life. And
Well, you talk about you. We let him talk about himself when he introduces himself.
Right. Well, you know
Thank
me.
you, Terry. Appreciate
Right,
it.
you know me.
Did a
I
good
come
job.
from. I came from the gang life. I was born in a functional family, even though my father wasn't around. Later on, learned that he was had a problem with Herron. I can't say if he was an addict or not. He ended up going to jail, and me too. I always said that I wouldn't be like my father when I grew up. My grandparents and my mother always instilled that unconditional love, though. They would never let me speak bad on them and told me to still love them no matter what. I ended up becoming like that, not around for my kids, getting involved in the gangs, getting involved in drug dealing, getting involved being on drugs for many, many years. I got 7 children, but for the past 6 years, I've been on the recovery sober. I've been able to raise my 2-year-old daughter and a half-year-old daughter. I'm always home for her now, and I'm doing my best to get back in my other children's life. You know, and I can understand the suffering, the mental. How can I put it?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
How a child's mind can be warped from being traumatized.
Yeah.
Going through that without the abandonment issues that you can have.
Well, we're going to get into all that conversation, but right now we're just kind of going through the opening and the introduction.
I got you.
So, give us your name and tell us anything important or anything about yourself you want to share with us.
My name is Umar Shabazz. I wasn't born with that name, Umar Shabazz. I was born with, my mother gave me the name Bobby Lewis. Actually, I'm originally from Millersville, Georgia, Baldwin County, in what we call the Miller, Georgia area, nicknamed the Old Slave Passage, kind of next door to where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was born. Also next door to Macon, Georgia, where Otis Redding was born, and Norm Nixon, and a few others.
That's all right, because our roots are in the South.
man.
Our heritage is from the South. And we are all transplanted, except those that came north. I don't know how they got there, but the majority of us came from the South. Our roots are down there. And as a matter of fact, you talked about, I know what plantation my people came from. Okay, I really, thanks to my brother's research, I found out where my dad's people, what plantation they're from. So we're very much connected as a people because of our history and our heritage in that area. Oh, we had you introduce yourself first. I'm sorry. You know, I talk so much sometimes I repeat myself and I sure forget where I am. So let's just get in the conversation. We were talking about this is your spiritual advisor, and can I ask you this way? What was the most important thing that you had to say to him to get his attention?
Really not that much, because something else had got his attention, and he was open to like a little fish in the water to anything.
Right.
Things seemed to be good, healthy food. So I just stayed positive with the brother, and I was open to him, and I always loved the positivity about him and his good positive message and willing to help and everything. Then I eventually heard his story about, you know, how badly damaged he got and how sweetly reasonable he became, you know.
Right.
So we just kind of blend naturally.
And that's the way the brotherhood is. That's the way it has been historically, just a certain open acceptance with one another, because the difficulties were the same across the board until the drugs came and separated us. You see, and it separated our men first and put them at war against each other. And I really wanted to ask you, Terrence, that you were honest enough to admit that the drugs did get a hold of you.
Oh, yeah, they got a grip
It
on
wasn't just a lifestyle, but talk about that, you know, you were in the life and then this thing kind of got a hold of you.
Yeah, I was in life in the early 80s. I began selling drugs in 82, far as cocaine. There was powder then. And when I was selling it, in a matter of 6 months, I started seeing what it was doing to people. And I would tell myself, I'm never going to mess with this. Even though I told myself I'd never mess with weed and alcohol, but I wasn't really doing it at that time. I was still in the sports. I got involved in the gang activity, but it was heavy, but not as heavy. As time went, 17 and a half, I started doing it on a daily basis. I started smoking Sherm. I started drinking the Cisco. Then I had an experience with some Primos in 1986. It kind of took me down fat. Well, it took me down. And then I was able to stop at that time. I had some willpower at that time to leave it alone. 87 on up, I never messed with crack cocaine again. I made a vow not to, because I seen what it was doing to my community and the people. But I still continue to do weed. I still continue to drink alcohol. 2003, I made an excuse, but I know it's not an excuse now. There's no excuse on why I use. I just like the effect and where it took me up out of myself. And I hit the pipe. And that took me down. I ended up on the streets, ended up sleeping in alleys, ended up having experiences on Skid Road, you know. It was a nightmare, and it got to the point where I wanted to quit, and I just didn't know how. I ended up doing 10 treatment facilities, and you know, I ended up going through the 12-step process of recovery, and that's what helped, and that's what helped me. That's what helped me. And I met some other people, and what they did was they guided me through this process to get back to a power.
Let me ask you this. You said this happened when? What years?
And when I started with the crack cocaine, I started smoking that in 2003.
In 2003?
Yeah, all the way up until 2011, off and on. But it wasn't like a everyday thing. I wasn't the one that was out there. But when I did it, it was like I was there and I was gone quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It attached itself to you, and you
Right.
wasn't leaving its presence.
Well, I couldn't.
You know? And,
I took myself back to it, even though I didn't want to go back to it.
you know, that's the nature of the beast.
Right.
That's the nature of addiction. You want to get away from it, but it's like, I'm not letting you go.
Right.
I'm not letting you go, son.
Right,
You'll
right.
be back.
Right.
You know, like the prison guards tell you when they release you.
Right.
I'll see you when you get back. You know, and so that drug had its power over those that allowed it to touch them. And truthfully, even the dealer was affected by it too,
Right.
because his addiction was the money.
Right.
That's what became his addiction.
Right.
And I just, you know, this show has to be honest talk.
Right.
It has to be honest,
Oh,
because we have been through some things. The evidence of the young people that were here last week. At your age, you would have been the parent.
Mm-hmm.
You see, so their parents' generation is the one that got stolen from them.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and so we got a chance to hear from them how that affected them.
Right.
So it's very important that we rebuild this communication. And this is a part where I need to shut my mouth. So,
Right.
you know.
Well, I don't see it as a regret for me.
Mm.
I see it as an experience and a life lesson that I went through, and a testimony that I can share with others. You know, from being in the gangs, from having double life plus 6 years in the state penitentiary, getting that appeal, you know. So I got the experience of being a lifer. I got experience of being a drug addict. I got experience of being a gang member. I got experience of being a hustler on the streets. I got experience of being in the music industry when I was with Arista Record and them. So I got a lot of different experiences in life, and what it taught me is that I always talk about it, is that through this and what I've learned now is that I can't blame the government or anyone for the condition that I place myself in. Because there's opportunities, because there's brothers and sisters that grew up in the same environment, the same community as me, who had it worse off in their household, but they became something else by the choices that they made and the decisions. So something was going on within me deep down inside. Like I say, the father, I blamed all these reasons on why, and I didn't like myself. You know, I didn't know that.
And I still have this peer group attachment with
Right.
it. Okay? It wasn't a 50-year-old that gave you that pipe.
No.
No. It was somebody in your peer group that
No,
had
it
it.
was- well,
It was you? Well,
No, actually,
See,
actually, it was one of my parents.
It was
They
one
didn't
of
give me
your-
the pipe. I got back into serving it though, and then when I seen them, I used to chop it up and then put the crumbs on the floor, and then they picked it up and like, let me have that to make some money. When I go in the room and they stuck, I tell them, you letting this overtake you? Your
Yeah.
mind must be weak. Let me show you. And I did it myself. That's the choices that I made.
Oh.
But it didn't hit me right then and there. You know, it wasn't until I got another type of sponsor that told me how to hit it right. And I got that real effect, and I was like, this is it. This is
Somebody
the one.
helped you push it along.
Right. Help me, show me how to really inhale it and all that.
Right.
Right.
That's just a sad truth. I mean, see, because most people didn't get that second chance. It
Right.
just caught them the first time. And I've had family members that it caught them the first time and just took them away from us
Yes.
for so long. So you're the exception, not the norm.
Right.
That's an exception story, not the usual.
Right.
So I don't want anybody to think, oh, I can walk away from this. Oh, I can try it and get away. You don't want to take that chance
No,
at
you
all.
don't.
Right.
Not at all. I wanted to bring you in this because he says that this was not your life. You weren't a part of this. And I see from your southern roots that you brought some traditions with you.
Well, my background is very similar to his. You know, I guess you can say I kind of got hooked up with the beginning or the making of a gang in my hometown. That we kind of ran together and we did things that today's gang members do. But I was thinking while he was talking about the condition that was already there.
Yeah.
that I was born into, you know, as a little baby. The condition was already set up.
Yeah.
You know, my mother she was a maid. You know what maids do.
Yeah, the help.
And she was helping white folks.
Yeah, that's the only help the help got to do.
That's what she was working for. And my father, he was a blues man like B.B. King and all of them. And they grew
Working
up
the chitlin circuit. Okay.
real well.
Well, you know, it's the truth of our history. We were segregated. Our mothers, our grandmothers were the help. You know, that's in my family too.
And my father, he had left. You know, he seemed like he was what they say, Rolling Stone.
I was going. You took the words right out of my.
Papa was a Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
And he was a womanizer.
Yeah.
And entertainer and.
Kind of goes with the industry.
Yeah.
You know.
And he was a heavy drinker of moonshine.
Okay.
Partier. And so he had 3 more kids, and outside of my county, which was Baldwin County, and another county was Sandersville, Georgia, Darrow County, and Sparta, Georgia, which is something like 34 miles outside of Millersville, Georgia, where my grandfather lived and where my mother had come from. Actually, my mother was born in Washington County, Sandersville, Georgia. She's still living today. I had a chance to meet her after 19 years last month. But the condition was there. You know, we lived in this wooden house with the outside toilet, you know, maybe
outhouse.
Maybe 20 yards or 25 yards from the house, you know. And, you know, Georgia have 4 seasons. And you have to make that journey in the winter to the outhouse. And she lived in a duplex with her sister and her husband and their little child. And my mother's boyfriend was a mechanic, and he was a heavy drinker, alcoholic. And my auntie, her husband, was an alcoholic too, but he was functioning. He could go to work and make it home with the money and all that. But my mother's old man Ruby, he couldn't make it home with the money. You know, when he come home, he'd be broke, sometimes all wet and stuff. You know, but
these are our backstories. These are our histories, and we shouldn't be surprised that a lot of our generations, the men drunk a lot. You know, I have that in my family too, alcoholism, and we talked about that last week actually in the segregated South. The segregated America, how hard it was for a black man to get anything done. And if you didn't have a skill, like your father, a musician, how are you going to earn a living? And we had, I can't remember his name, and I apologize for that, but he talked about the history that when we were slaves, we were some of the most skilled labor in this country. Really skilled labor, because we had to. Yeah. We had to build, we had to plant, we had to rotate crops, we had to know, we had to shoe horses, you know.
That was the only way to survive.
That was the only way. Well, we was working for the master. Right. We was doing everything he wasn't going to do. You see, so we became expert at that. And in my dad's generation, your father's generation, it was a skill that you had that made you stable. And without it, you got nothing. So I have family that went through that and turned my uncle into a full-time alcoholic. Full-time alcoholic with 6 kids. And we talked about the fact that welfare came along and told him, well, that's okay, you can be an unemployed drunk, but we're going to take care of your wife and your kids, but you got to get out. You see, that was a condition of that contract. And it caught up a lot of our dads in that because they were being not even socialized. That's not the right word. They were kept out of earning money. So in that generation, it really was your skill that saved your family.
They was limited.
Yeah. Yes, but it's like what you could do with your hands. What you could do with your hands could take care of your family. Yeah. But
it's going to be always something like that, being that we're in the capital of this country. Straight up. I mean, and imperialism, colonialism, all those. If we look at it today and what's going on in Los Angeles in our own community is no different from what happened with Columbus and them when they were colonizing the states. The Indians, the natives were here, the indigenous people, and what they would do, they would come set up shop in their communities, and they call it displacement today, and they would move them somewhere else. What you see going on over here in the Jungles area, the Watts area, and where they coming in the Leimert Park area with it, and it's more to us to where us as the darker, I always say darker complexion of the human race because I was taught and raised
we're
that
the people
the race
of
was,
color.
Right, the people of color of the human race.
Color, okay?
Right.
All colors.
I say
okay?
that. I say that. I'm gonna say this briefly to say that. For instance, Donald Trump. I don't know the man. I can't say I don't like the man because I really don't know the man. But I have to understand the man and where he was raised with those ideologies in the belief system he got. He probably has no choice than to believe in the way he believes. Just like if I was raised over here in the crib, if he was raised in the crib or the blood, then we didn't get along. But we're raised in these areas. Until we really sit down and know each other, you're a cool dude. So I really don't know this guy, and his belief system is what it is.
Right.
But if I focus on his belief system, it's a distraction for me to look to, and I'll be distracted from looking at self-empowerment and community empowerment. And what can we do to rebuild our community if I'm really focused on him? What I mean by as far as the gentrification is going on. If we got all of that, and we're say like securities. We got a lot of brothers getting into the security system. We know that the white people and all that do that because they say if we fear him, everybody's going to fear him. So they got a lot of that going on. But who will be the entrepreneurs or the head of security management companies? They will. Well, why not us train our own to do that and we have our own? And then we hire our own in our own community. Everything has to be a circulation. Then we won't have no...
Everything comes through us.
Right. We can identify the problem.
If we all take, if she got a business, he got a business, we all got different businesses. If we put them in the same umbrella, and we take everything that comes within that and put it back into the community, it's all gonna come back because we're able to hire. We're able to have community centers, all these different things that we know we need. We ain't gotta go ask nobody, but everybody's too busy, like you said, watching Donald Trump. I call him that. I don't, I say it loudly. I don't never, Well, Donald Trump is a distraction to everybody. And if everybody follow it, then, you're going to be distracted.
Exactly.
So if you don't give it no time, it won't breed no seeds.
I don't really give it Donald Trump any power because I understand the condition. See, Donald Trump was born into a already made condition. And there was already people at the top of the pyramid that was all who made the condition, who fashioned and designed and
he was born
edited whatever coming into that.
In privilege.
That's still privilege, but you still got those at the puppeteer at the top. That is really responsible for the condition.
Well, the point I'm making about Trump, he's never had to suffer. Okay, he's never had to go hungry. He's never had to worry about being homeless. He's never had to worry about, well, what am I going to feed my kids today? So he is disconnected as a leader of this country could possibly be. And he calls himself Make America Great. Well, you're just a big old divider. You have divided the country and got us angry with each other over race again.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Donald Trump is a puppet. I don't care what we say, think. He, whatever he does or what he do is has to be ordered. No, have to be in line with what those at the top want.
His accountability.
He's a puppet. All presidents, kings, and everybody on this earth is a puppet to those who run in the gold mine, who got the gold mines, all the resources, who digging all the oil up out the country, Britain, London, the
Russia.
Rome, you know.
Russia,
So,
Iraq,
those
Iran,
at
they
the top.
want the
So
oil.
Don is really a puppet. So whatever he do, he's not really doing it. They can get rid of him anytime they want.
Right.
So he must be doing something that they want him to do.
Be a
So-
distraction.
He's a
in terms of
businessman.
influence,
Distracted.
That's
No,
all he's
not a
there for.
businessman.
He's there to be a distraction.
He's a
Exactly.
If
distraction.
everybody watch him, you won't realize that they still got pipelines that they built.
There it is.
You
and
don't
you won't
realize.
pay attention that he's fixing to give a big tax break to the wealthiest.
Exactly.
You won't recognize that that's his purpose for being in office. He's not here to unify the country. He's not here to help the immigrants. He's not. He's here to help big business and money.
Exactly.
And he's,
Okay.
and he's having the influence and the influence on the public like they want him to have. They want us to be reacting or feeling, expressing ourselves.
So that's
Well, he's
the way we
loosed the
are now.
Klan again. The Klan
So that's
feels
what they want. They want that
empowered
atmosphere.
now.
They
Yeah.
want that type of atmosphere for a little while.
Yeah.
They controlling.
Yeah.
For some reason, they want that atmosphere. But I want to get back to the beginning of the,
Yeah.
like the game. You said originally we were talking about games, right?
well, yeah, because that's where I was
And us
going
as a
to.
people,
Us as a people,
in the
and-
community, the conditions that gave birth to games. You ought to be able to go back to the very beginning of how the condition was that gave birth to it when it first started, and they saw it getting out of hand or blooming, but no one really wanted to stop it from when they was dealing with the leather coats and all that. Raymond Washington and everybody.
Right, well,
I'm talking about
personally, I
before.
was like younger.
But did you hear as
my mother and father then was
But
around,
did
and
they
I would
tell
be
you
around them. But
a little bit
yeah.
about how it began? Maybe she know, but that which gave birth to it, and then saw it developing into what it is today.
Right.
But saw it as it would be a way of also helping them, the white supremacists and all that.
That's
We
what I
didn't see it that way, though.
That's why I
We
see
didn't
it.
see it that way. We're seeing it that way now, but we didn't back at the beginning that you were talking about with Raymond Washington. People have told me that the original intent was to protect the Watts
community.
community from the Klan
Yes.
in
Same with
living in
us,
Southgate and Compton. And I've had people say, yeah, that's what it was. And then I had people say, oh, hell no, it wasn't. It was about blah, 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 blah. So you get different answers from people. But, let's be factual. The Klan was living in Southgate. The Klan was living in Compton. The Klan was coming into Watts and hurting folks. So there was a need for us to defend
Protect.
ourselves at that time.
Yes.
So
But they didn't want that type of. They didn't want that type of.
That element is never going to be
like that among us because see,
Right.
they wanted us to end up the way we are now.
right.
that element is never going to be coexisting. Like it's always going to be a group of something that's going to be recognized as a, and that's been throughout history. And when before I went into a darkness, I did a lot of studies in the penitentiary and learned a lot that we always talk about, where I say where he's re-guided me and helping me get back to, as far as with the Saurian tradition, Me Too Nader, and all these type of topics and books. And if you look at it and look at when humanity was in Africa before it all divided, then when they started traveling and you got the nomads, when they get up into the Ice Age, into the European caves, they became lighter. They were black, but their melons wasn't getting sun. What they had to eat in it, and it made their structure. And then we have to look at the condition they were in. They wasn't down here back in Africa where the vegetables was, all the diamonds. They had to go out in that winter and hunt for deers, all that, eat what they can eat.
They wanted
and so
to
that
conquer.
those politics came, that's the root of where those. So if you got those politics and you start going out, Alexander the Great and everybody conquering the world, you get us, you divide us, take our identity away from
The
us.
story he's talking about is he's talking about the Grimaldi.
Right.
The Grimaldi Africans. The oldest bones that are found in Europe are the Grimaldi bones. They have a book called The Iceman Inheritance. You ever heard that before? The Iceman Inheritance? So they talking about the emergence of the Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon. But in ancient African civilization, we was never plagued with gangs. We never had a jail. We didn't have a word in our language that meant jail.
Right.
So that means nobody had to go to jail. We never had a word in our language that meant old folks' home because our old people never had to go anywhere. We took care of them. What I'm saying, let me just say
one part.
When you say going to always see, once we compare our society with those societies that didn't have a gang, and why they didn't have them.
When we define gang means what? Two or more people in the group. It doesn't consist of what they label the actions of those people. So when they label the actions of LA gangs, it's two or more people, true, but then they say it consists of murder, extortion, racketeering. That's their definition of how they defined us when we didn't become the culture that we were.
You know why they do it? Because it's a social system is established between those people. A way of life, way of thinking, way of speech, a way.
What I'm saying is they defined the way of life for us when they made colors. Gangs wasn't based on because you wear red and blue. I'm going to get you. That wasn't the
they helped the situation too. See, they were
of course.
I'm getting to that. They did when you start from the condition that was already there and what condition gave birth to it, you will eventually see how they were putting gasoline on the fire, they infuriated, the situation to make it even worse like we got it today. And it go back to what you're saying about how the father was separated from the home and how they first started working on the family institution and separate the family and the husband from the wife. And so the wife became dependent on the accounting system.
From his children.
The father from his children.
You see, that's the most damaging thing. See, because as adults, a husband and wife, we're going to argue. We may stay together, we may not. But you took my dad out of my home. You took him away. Told him he had to leave if I was going to get to eat.
All that.
You see, you dismissed him out of my family. You left my children without the man that helped me make them. You see, and we didn't see down the road that was a deliberate thing to destroy the black family.
And it definitely was another aspect, a part of the Willie Lynch, how he divided his method that he brought from the Caribbean and spoke in the House of Representatives, I think it was 18-something, where they would Henry Berry introduced him by saying that they had closed every avenue of light from getting to the black man's mind. So that was part of the Willie Lynch when he came and they broke the family up.
How to keep a slave a slave.
That was part of it. And a lot of that gave birth to what's going on right now.
So that's where I come in with the question. And what should we say? We can identify the problem, get to the root of the problem, right? And we understand that those of us being raised with our fathers, mothers, broken homes or whatever, it stems in other relationships. And then how was the truth? How could we're in a relationship, but she may have not been with haven't been with her father. So then she's expecting something out of me that her father didn't give her. Then I got my own issues. So that's what I'm saying. When we boil down and we get down to ourselves and understand that, and how do we make it an alignment, and then share with everyone else in our communities as our people, because we're a people of lost identity who's given identities. Then when we find certain knowledge and awareness, we don't be open-minded toward with each other.
If we understand,
and we want to argue on who's right and who's wrong, and what should we do? No, that's the wrong way. That's why our movements have always been dismantled so easily.
Because we got to understand reality, man. Like he said, if we can get to understanding ourselves first, then
back to that.
Understanding ourselves personally. Before you can understand your community, you got to understand you, because the conflict going to come in what you see out the door. When you step outside, it's going to be like, man, I don't like what's going on right there. But it's something
within. Go back to what she was saying, is understanding ourselves.
You gotta know yourself.
Family. And when you split up the family, and the mother be left with the children, whose perception of themselves can get easily starting to get distorted because they have separated.
But it also go to people don't even know how to identify it. So if you don't know yourself, if you don't take the time to understand yourself, then you won't be able to go outside and help him or help the person next to you.
That's what we're saying.
All right.
We're saying it's true.
Because I want to add something in here, too. Because we did have some women some women that embrace that nonsense. Well, I don't need him anyway. I can do this by myself.
Yes.
And look, some strong women have a strong woman to help raise my husband by herself.
Right.
His daddy went to prison for shooting his mama. So these are the things we've been through historically.
Right.
But his family stayed together. They stayed together. They had their ups and downs, their ins and outs. But when they got married, they stayed married. You see, this is the thing that got taken from some of our generations.
I come from a family like that. My sister, my older sister who passed away 2 years ago, she stayed married to the same man for 55 years, and they had 10 children together. Yeah. My sister Annette, she stayed married to the same man, and they had 5 together. My sister Betty stayed married to the same man. My sister Brenda been married to the same man till he died the same year my woman passed away. Yeah. But myself as an individual, my family was broke up when I was a kid. When as far back as I can remember, it was just me and my mother before my baby sister was born, and my other sister and brother was being raised by my grandfather, and my uncle had one.
Yeah.
And but where I grew up at, in that real wooden house, no electric lights, no plumbing, fireplace, refrigerator, ice box, no refrigerator, outside toilet, and my mother was a maid.
Yeah.
And I believe I'm the child that felt everything she felt when she was carrying me.
Yes.
No one else was like me in my family. What I wanted to say is that it still go back to the condition and what you were saying about breaking up the family. And we have to look that we was brought to this new world now. That was also some of us already living here, and that they call us natives, the Indian. They think that the light-skinned Chinese, Mexican type light-skinned one was here, but the darker one, darker than him, was already here because we had been traveling back and forth from here to Africa many years before Europe even became a corporate nation. So, so we was coming on. We called the Moors already had been making trips here. So we was already here, but they still brought those from Africa too, because over there, especially around West African area, because a lot of the Egyptians had ran from Egypt over into West Africa area. And the West African, we had a lot of builders, like you said, a lot of skilled black. They didn't get just ignorant, unlearned. They brought learn.
Yes.
It was getting learned, the skills, because they didn't have none, really.
Yeah.
So they had to go where the people
trying to
get
figure out how they built the pyramids.
Skills, so they
still
brought us
trying
in.
to figure that
well,
out.
Anything that we do, they're going to put it on something. Had to come out of space and build it up, or somebody had to come from somewhere.
A UFO landed in your
we already been here several hundred thousands and thousands.
Maybe we're the original UFOs.
Yeah, because we all aliens anyway in this solar system. We're all aliens in this one solar system.
As big as the universe is, it's kind of arrogant to think we're the only species in the whole universe.
We're in this galaxy today, this galaxy here, where we are called humans. We're actually spiritual beings, spiritual beings, in a flesh suit, a body that had to appropriate. We had to get used to each other. You know how you put on a new suit of clothes and trying to get it to adjust where you can wear it. So the spirit had to adjust to it, and it had to adjust to the spirit.
Okay. And I really want to ask you, because I think a lot of our young people don't recognize that they have a spirit and that their spirit needs to be nourished.
Right.
I don't think they pay any attention to it at all. Let me get you in this conversation, young lady.
Well, that goes with the conditions. When I'm in a condition that I don't know how to know myself, to thy own self be true. Right. Well, if I'm in such a condition where I'm from that broken home, I'm from that community where there's murder and drugs, I'm from all these situations, I get lost in who I am. Right. I become the gangbanger-let, even though I don't gangbang. I become the hustler's girlfriend, because I have to put on this mask to fit in. Yeah. So
and it's accepted accepted as such.
And it's accepted. Of course it is accepted as such. I'm a chameleon. I go with the flow of every crew or people that I hang around. So if I'm in such a condition that I don't know how to go deep within myself, a couple of you all said it. How am I going to help the next man or the woman? I need to be able to go down deep within, be truthful with the hell that I've gone through on earth, and be able to share that with another man or woman, that, you know, what you think you're going through alone, what you think only happened to you and your family has happened to a number of us. And like Terrence said, some of us came from homes that had a very stern and stable upbringing. And some of us went the opposite direction of that. Some of us came from homes where both parents were actively using. And they went to college, and I was still in the neighborhood. So it's the mindset. It's how do we change the mindset? When we see Mr. Trump on the news and all we hear about is the murder and the taking away this and the building the wall to separate our Latino family, you know, we focus on all of that instead of focusing on, okay, so what do I do in my community? What can I start in my community from point A so we can get to point E maybe? But we are so focused on what the news likes to throw out at us, that we are the media, that we're not even focused on what we can do. We have so many educated and skilled people in the Leimert Park area. They are entrepreneurs. They are athletic. They are actors and actresses. Entertainers and everything. But we're so focused on what the news says about the Leimert Park area, or what the street says, that we just turn away from it.
Well, you know what? That's our power that's been robbed. We've been robbed of that power to have the right to express ourselves, the right to talk about our issues. And this latest thing with the NFL is a perfect example.
Yes.
You colored people, shut up, sit down, and just take it. Take it. And don't say nothing. Okay, don't say nothing, dadgum you, because if you say something, the head guy in charge is going to tell your boss to fire your SOB behind.
They are property of that team.
Yes, and so that question came up because of this. Is this a master-slave kind of arrangement you have with this team you're playing
Modern day.
Yep, and it's still going on.
Exactly.
That's why I see, you know, the solution, just my opinion, solution would to go back. We have to go back like we did in the 12-step program. When we got to the 4th step, we had to go back. No matter how much we didn't want to look at our history, what we had did, those who we had harmed and ran over or whatever, and all to get this new life that the promises that the book, the 12-step, promised us. You know, we have to do that inventory. So our people have to do that too. It has to start somewhere. It can start in Leimert Park and grow over the world, but we have to begin that the assessment, the inventory that go deep. Those things that we don't want to look at. And a lot of times when we bring this conversation up around our people, they get upset. We don't want to start arguing because they deep down inside, that's something we don't want to look at. We don't want to face. We don't want to accept it. We have to really look back and see where we came from, a nation of people who had great respect for our women. We didn't call them bees. And, well, matter of fact, we couldn't even become a king until we go through them, because the crown was sitting on top. the chair, the throne was sitting on top of her crown. You know, so with no doubt about who, you know, we had to go through her. And then they even saw the universe itself, how it gave birth as feminine, you know. So we definitely came from a place where we had great respect for our women's family life, our culture. We had a great divine spirituality, a spiritual system. This went on before religion. So, but unfortunately, we fell in the hand of those who came from a different climate and had a different temperament. And then they saw everything that we had. We were living literally in paradise. Because right now, Africa is supporting the whole world right now. The whole, if Africa would go up under the water,
See, because I don't want to blame any type of religion for where we at now and being lost. But, you know, you have one that has a system where the belief is into this person in the past that we couldn't identify because that person was of a different complexion.
Right.
Then you got stories of this person. It's never explained like it is in Dead Sea Scrolls and other sacred writings about the events and actions that this person took. But we're to believe that this person was 100% perfect. So if I can't be 100% like this person, I'm going to hell. Like another one tells you, if you do this, you're going to hell.
Right.
So it takes me away from a divine solution, and in that condition, the only solution I go is the drugs.
And that was the aim, to take you away, to take us away from it.
So then we resort
to disconnect us from our past and from our greatness, and to where we had nothing to compare our situation to. And that was the goal. That was the aim. What you talking about?
If you look at it now, how the changes of the drugs, they are the same thing and get the same effect and take it to the same place. But it's such a delusional state that these youngsters is up under. They're nothing but modern day crackheads when they take Xannies and all that.
Yes.
And when you read the Xannies, I read the Xannies because of a situation I was going through with someone, and that pill was banned from America for 20 years. And
they knew it.
And they knew it. Then they finally let it come over here, and it's more addictive than Herron.
You know what's so crazy? All the new drugs that they come up with.
But they're pharmaceuticals, so they don't think they're that bad.
Whether it's mental health or a street drug, you know, it's all under the Remember how I was saying, if everything's under the same umbrella, every piece of pill or drink it all comes from FDA pharmaceutical.
So this is how to keep us from ourselves.
Exactly.
This is a part of that, keeping us from ourselves, right? Just say, which is a fact, the process that we went through, our mothers and fathers and foreparents, all of them, my mother and them, and grandma, the struggle they went through. Now, they was brought to this country, and then all of those that they already here went through a process, a transformation of changing, underwent a change that changed them from their original self. And we went through what we call a process till we became a new people here in this country, right?
Well, they had to break us down and take our heritage from us in order to enslave us. In order to enslave us. And the thing that was so effective for them, they had us chained and we didn't speak the same language, so we couldn't communicate with each other to formulate a plot. And this is one of the pushbacks that I've heard.
I like that one.
Okay, that this is one of the pushbacks that we get from the Native Americans, that y'all didn't fight. And it's like, well, where the heck were we going to go? We're chained to each other. We can't speak the same language, and we're in a strange land. So if we're going to run, where are we going to run to?
Right.
You see, so we were at a disadvantage. And really what I wanted to make the distinction, we fought in Africa. Okay? That's where Shaka Zulu said, oh, heck no. You ain't coming and taking nothing from my people.
We had many fighters over there. We had people
many fighters, yes.
But they were so united in their effort to get Africa. Because after all, he come from a soil. He come from a soil that was full of selenium. It didn't have any zinc, any of those good nutrients and everything. So it brought on different, like paranoia, schizophrenia. He had a different temperament. This was one thing, you can hit it on YouTube, Dr. Africa. He dealing with that. You know, how that different temperament. But what I wanted to bring up was we became a new people. Psychologically. You know, psychologically. Our old mind, original mind was taken and replaced by alien mind. That was really not ours. So even my mother she did the best she can do. Granddaddy did the best they can do. And
under the circumstances,
those older people like that was more closer to the original mind and could tell it. But as we come more and more into the future, we start we losing ourselves more. So can you imagine a person who already done lost themselves and don't know who they are already having an identity problem, going to the Superfly movie and go one way and come out another way, and then go on somewhere and get on dope too?
Yeah.
You know,
That's
I'm
right.
already a slave then.
Right.
But then after I take a hit, and then I catch it the first time, then I'm swept off into another type of slavery.
Yes.
So I'm in double slavery.
Yeah.
And then when you push it into a community, that community began to lose their homes and stores
everything.
and all them
Everything.
skillful people
Morals
that
and
we
values.
Parents
all
start
them
to go to
skillful people.
prison, their children out in the street trying to figure out, well,
So
what happened to
they're
mom?
war.
Where, yeah.
It's
yeah,
a war
so-
been declared.
Yeah.
See, and that was one person who told us to go back and go back to that spiritual essence of Africa was Marcus Garvey, which people would take literally. Like we was to get on. I've never been to Africa, so how can I go back? I'm born in America.
Literal.
But what he meant was spiritually go back and find yourself.
You can go without leaving this room. That's why I said one thing they said in the fellowship. They said that you can go anywhere a free man can go.
Right.
I always say you can go anywhere a free mind can go.
A free mind.
Because physically, some places I cannot go.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to go, but physically, for real, I can't go there.
Yes, you're right. You're
You know,
right,
like
look.
going down in where all them Nazis or Ku Klux Klan, they got all their homes and everything, and I'm walking down in there just like this, just like this.
And I ain't going without you. Hey, I'm not going by myself, and I sure ain't going without you. I need somebody to know where we are, be aware of our surroundings, and know where the exit is. So I gotta get out of here still intact before I kill somebody. Right.
I want to
That's
say
the
before I
truth.
stop talking, I'm
Go ahead.
glad to have met you because I had looked at James and Terrence and other people on your show, and I was liking the way you conducted and the question and how you was helping to, you know, because after all, you black too.
Yeah.
You bringing all this together, and I think this is good. That you got this set up like this. I wish I had some money. I'd just give you some money so you can make it even bigger.
Well, you know what the best part of this is having your voices come and share this hour.
Yes.
See, because it's just an hour, but you fill it with the information we need to hear.
Okay.
That's
any
really
kind of way that I can help you out there with flyers or anything to help you get more money so you can get more people.
Money is not the
just get in
problem. I
contact
need
with
the
him.
people. It's not the money, it's the people. I need us. We need to hear each other. We need to hear ourselves for a change.
Yes.
As I said at the top, we need to start communicating again out of concern and care for one another the way we originally were. We felt better about each other ourselves
We had more
when we were
respect.
chained.
You remember that Wall Street and them other brothers and sisters
Black Wall Street.
that came out and how they got it together.
Yes.
You know, even though they had lost a great part of themselves, but they still saw the business part. They kept the business part and saw the European business part too. And they started building whole city. If they hadn't been interrupted, look how great we would have had our own.
But you know what? And that's the core right there. We were building the same as they. We own the banks. We own the markets. We own the liquor store. Can a black person own a liquor store in Los Angeles in 2017?
Not today.
Okay. And I'm gonna tell it. I came around the corner and they're boycotting a liquor store right here in this neighborhood, and they've been at it a while.
On Stalker?
Right here on,
Well, we ain't gonna tell the location. Okay.
You're right, though, but now if we had it like Wall Street had it, where the money could circulate like 18, 27 times before it even leave like everybody else.
Yeah. Right.
But now money comes into our hand. It don't even stay 24 hours.
You know why? Because these merchants work a closed shop. And that's the number one thing working against us. Right. You want my money, but you don't want my employment. You won't hire me. So where do I get my money from? Oh, I know. I'll come in here, your store, and just take what I want.
And that's what they do in the land. That's what they did in our land.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted the land and didn't want us to live in it.
Came and took it.
See, he came from a land that was heavily with selenium, with selenium in the ground. So the vegetables and the animal and everything he had to eat, it didn't have the proper nourishment that the Africans had. You see what I'm saying?
You agree that the Serengeti is really Eden? Come on.
Yeah.
The animals are still there, commingling. They ain't been able to build a skyscraper.
They want it. See,
I know, but they
Africa.
ain't been able to do it. They haven't been able to touch the Serengeti with a New York mentality.
They don't want to, and they don't kind of, see, they want to move. See, actually, the plan is to get all us out of Africa.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
I know
that's the plan. That so they could have a new place to occupy.
That's why
I'm not a racist.
They're doing that right now.
But they're trying to deal with something.
Okay. It's all right. You know what? This hour is about honesty the way we see it, okay? This ain't the feel good, make them feel better about themselves place. It ain't.
No, tell the truth.
We got to see it the way we see it.
Right.
Well, we're almost out of time, and we got to bring our closing remarks. So let's start with the ladies first. Tell our sister something smart.
There's so much to say to our young ladies today. Learn how to begin to love yourself. Seek within instead of seeking him. And just begin to learn to love yourself, because we put on so many lashes and lace fronts and all this stuff to cover up our natural beauty. And our natural beauty radiates from within. So I just want to tell the young ladies that, begin to learn to love yourself. You don't have to give your physical self to anyone.
No.
Just begin to learn to love yourself, and that way you can begin to really and truly love other people.
That's right. All right.
Well, this is one of my favorite families. We got with the little baby miracle and everything.
Yes.
I'd like to thank God for being over here and being invited to the show and everything. I would like to start seeing our young people pick up more African literature, and especially books like Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James. Also books like The Destruction of African Civilization by Chancellor Williams. And another book would be good, Isis Paper by our sister, Sister Frances Caress Welsing. And visit Estewan Bookstore and start getting back into looking at how we were before we even met the European people. Right. And you'll begin to see a people who were not only a matriarchal society, but we were from a parental. We was about the family.
Yes, yeah.
We have laws that good family unity and respect for each other, husband and wife, brothers and sisters, so we can kind of start getting that back. And let's thank God for having a sister like you also, and the sister, having a little something where we can go and express ourselves and try to get some kind of awareness back in the community, because it's really, really, really needed.
Yeah.
We going backwards.
I agree with you. Actually, thanks to those young men that were here last week, I know we're moving in the right direction.
You see a sign that I know
we're starting to move. Come on, Mr. Last Word.
Okay, well, I like to thank God, too. Just want to send a prayer out to everybody that's listening and everybody that's here. If you're having experiences in your life, I pray that you get through them safe, and I hope that you become teachable, open-minded.
Right.
And that's it right now.
I like that, teachable.
They say I'm not, but that's not true. They say that about me, but that's not true. Those who walk with me every day like my woman do, she teaches me all the time. And I got great respect for her. But that came over time, and I had to get some experience about not having respect. Then now,
Well, we're people that's not ashamed to learn something new. Not ashamed of it. And God knows sometimes I need to learn something new.
Well,
so you
I'm
guys
learn
keep
something
me
new all the
encouraged.
time.
All the time.
Yes.
And Marcus, thank you so much for coming in tonight. Really
Thank you.
appreciate you and respect you.
Yes, sir.
Now you got to keep your head to the sky.
All right. God bless you, community family. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.